Welcome back to the wonderful world of sacred geometry. I'm your host, Nadi Hanna, and today we're going to be talking about and drawing heptagons and heptagrams. The favorite, number 7. Lots of magic in this shape. So to begin with, as a refresher, polygons are a two-dimensional flat plane shape that is named by the number of its sides. So heptagon having 7 sides, and it is a plain old polygon, but specifically it is a regular and simple polygon. Regular being that the angles and sides are all equal, and simple being that the boundary does not cross over itself. That's about as technical as we're going to get. The rest of it is magical, mystical, and esoteric. I love the heptagon primarily for the meditative and contemplative aspects of working with it. It is a very mystical number. It contains all sorts of cultural history and symbolism, and I'm going to go over a little bit of that, but not much. We're going to draw a heptagon and then 2 different kinds of heptagrams. That's when the internal shape crosses over itself. And the heptagon is another closed geometry, much like the pentagon and the nonagons and decagons that we'll do in the next class series. What that means is that you can draw the shape starting and ending at the same point. And what that gives us is an opportunity for meditation and contemplation about beginnings and endings. And I have a mindfulness practice that I want to encourage everyone to play with once you've got the general idea of the shape down. But before we get into drawing, let's do a little overview of the heptagon and the heptagram. Once again, I'm going to put out the disclaimer to not underestimate the power of the geometry. I'm going to give you an example later on what I'm talking about specifically to the heptagon and heptagram. So the heptagram or septagram in Western Kabbalistic traditions represents the sphere or the sephira in the tree of life of the Netzach, which is a very complex lineage of information. The sevenfold geometry also represents the 7 planets and carries the information of the 7 alchemical metals and also the 7 days of the week. So its symbolism stretches across all kinds of cultural significance in both the obvious and then as well the subtle realms, represented here with the symbol of magical power in pagan traditions. The obtuse heptagram was used as a symbol in the Kabbalah and later by Aleister Crowley in the Knights Templar, where it was known as the star or seal of Babylon. Again, much like with the pentagon and the pentagram, we have imbued the geometry with so much programming that it's difficult to remove the associations and just be with the geometry. So I want to invite you to do that and also to know some of the really, really powerful significance of the number 7 and of the heptagram. The heptagram also became a traditional symbol for warding off evil. Thus, the reason that most sheriff's badges are the obtuse heptagonal shape. Might not have noticed that the last time you were pulled over. But you also find them with the 6-sided geometry as well. But this is one of the more traditional symbols for protection. And this little badge has so much going on here. Makes you really stop and look at the symbolism in our authority figures. So the magic number 7 also appears in a lot of cultural deities, including the 7 pillars of wisdom in the Middle East, the 7 faces of Hathor in Egypt, the 7 mothers of the world in Southeast Asia. It's really a omnipresent number. And here is an image of a fractalized heptagram. Although it's not really a heptagram, that ends up being a 14-pointed geometry. One of the things I always like to encourage is when you've got the shape down, go ahead and duplicate it and fractalize it, and then it's just infinite fun. It also represents the 7 chakras, the wheels of energy found in our bodies. And those energy systems are the crown chakra representing spirituality, the 3rd eye chakra representing awareness, and the throat chakra representing communication, The heart chakra representing love and healing. This is a tiny, tiny synopsis of this very profound interpretation of the reality of our existence. Just to make a note of breaking these down into one or two words. The solar plexus chakra representing wisdom and power, the sacral chakra representing sexuality and creativity, and the root chakra representing basic trust and this physical body. There's also apparently happy heptagons and sad heptagons, just in case you didn't know that. I always like to include examples of art, whether it's graphic design or hand-drawn. And who knew this could happen until it did? So I want to encourage you to just play around and find out what's inside of you ready to come out with heptagonal expression. And again, just seeing a couple of different options and the infinite possibility of how to play with the geometries. So now this, this is what I was referring to when I was saying to never underestimate the power of the geometry. One time I was doing a workshop specifically on polygons, the 5s, the 7s, the 9s, and the 10s. And we spent a great deal of time on the 7s and the heptagons and the heptagrams. And it was a really powerful day. There was a collective energy. We had a wonderful group of people, and we did a lot of intentioning with the sevenfold geometry and its magic and its power to create and influence our reality. So we spent time with that, and then the next day I went to go do my laundry at a local laundromat, and this image was the front page cover of the local weekly newspaper. So just keep an eye out. Notice how you influence your reality. Notice if geometries show up. And we're going to get that process going by drawing. Here we go. By drawing. So here we go.